Hi, it's me again with Corel Draws Tips and Tricks, and somebody sent me a photo of this earring and want to know how you duplicate it or draw it. And I'm glad they told me it doesn't have to be exact because you can't really make something exactly like that. I mean, well, you could get it close, like you said, it doesn't have to be exact. But I did this pretty quick, and by mistake, it actually had a couple of things go right about it. I might be too close. These are all cut lines. This might be too close. It might be burnt away, but you never know till you do it. So let's just draw one. And what I saw in the picture was a kind of like a horseshoe effect. And so we're going to take an ellipse tool. And this is what's so good about this. It doesn't matter what size you draw it in because you can always rescale it. And then I hit P, put it in the center of the page. And then I made a kind of like a rectangle. I went to object and convert it to a curve. And then I could nudge in. Whoop. You have to set your nudge factor on something little. So this box is only, wow, it's real little. So let's just nudge it 0.01. See what that does. Click on that. That'll work. So I'm just clicking on the node, and I'm going to go twice on both sides. Kind of getting a glass shape. And then I don't want anything at the bottom of my horseshoe, so I'm going to draw a square. I'm going to go down here and take that away. So I'm just going to slice through there. And I got rid of that part of the horseshoe. And I can delete mine. Now to make this work with, I think this started in 18 objects to path. And you could do this with the blend tool. So if you don't have that, you could use the blend tool. Now, for some reason, it does it upside down, and I want it like this, so I'm going to make it upside down. And then I'm going to put 8 of them. And I'm going to go ahead and use the center. And then I'm going to shift select my path and hit apply. So I got part of the outside circle. There's quite a few more than 8 on theirs, but that's beside the point. Now, what I like about fit to text to path or object to path, you don't have to break it apart. So I'm going to take my oval, I'm going to scale it down and make it a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to, and also the same thing here, it does not mess with this. So I'm going to Control D and make a duplicate. And we are going to maybe put it on our path and make it a different shape. And take the node tool and just kind of give it a different shape. And I'm not using the path for anything but just getting it like right there. Control D and make a duplicate of the guy and mirror it, and then hold down the control button and put it on that path. I kind of like that shape, so I'm going to select them, Control D, mirror them the other way, hold down the control button, and just put them anywhere you like. Get rid of our path. Pretty cool shape. Control G to group them together. I'm going to move that picture out of the way, and I'm going to, holding down the control button, I'm going to move it up. Then we're going to go to, there's 12 of them. So that'd be 30 degrees. Control D and make a duplicate. And then you could use a lot of different tools. Make sure you have snap to guidelines on, so it should snap right to it. And it doesn't look like it's getting to the center, but it must be. Then I'm going to rotate it 30 degrees. So we have a problem. They're touching, so you need to do a couple things. Delete it. Control, or don't touch it, and just hold down excuse me, hold down the control button. Start moving and hold down the control button. Then move, make a duplicate of that. Rotation, center, check your center, 30 degrees. And now they're not touching. Now I'm going to just rotate it 60 degrees and just keep moving around. So that's pretty good. Now I can actually scale this down a little bit now, but we don't have to yet. And then there are 6 of these instead of 12. And it just kind of like skips over every other one. So we're going to take this one and Control D. You know what? I want to make sure they're grouped together. They are. Control D and make a copy of it and then just bring it in. You have to start moving it first. And I'm going to have it kind of interplay with that other one. Now, Control D and make a duplicate of that. Move the center rotation to the center. And rotate this one 60 degrees. And you can kind of see that it's, and then go 120. It's kind of intermingling with the other one, like the drawing. Now, what I like about this is this right here, we've kind of formed a weird looking 6-sided polygon. So let's see how big this thing is. It's a little over 6 inches. It kind of throws me off because this page is small. So we're going to we're going to set our nudge factor on 7 inches. I mean, here's kind of a neat little trick. Go to Smart Fill Tool, and there are several ways you could do this. You could group and ungroup these, but we're going to just hit every one of these, and because I want like a kind of a carbon copy of this pattern. See how it's kind of a weird shape? Left click, right click. I could group them together, but I'm not going to. I'm going to hold down the shift key. I'm going to bring them in. And then I'm going to nudge them back. So we kind of made a pattern almost like the real one in a way. And you could make those much bigger. But you need to kind of think about keeping them spaced out. Now, we need to go to the boundary tool and make a boundary. Nudge it over. You don't really have to do that. Grab that boundary, and it's not really a boundary, but it is. I mean, it's a boundary of the whole thing. Go up to Effects and Contour. Make sure you have rounded corners on, and let's contour the outside 1 inch. That's probably too much. Let's contour 0.25. Look what it did by mistake. Or I did it by mistake, is it has these other cut marks that are kind of intermingled into our design. Break contour apart. Take this line and let's go up to break curve apart. Put our boundary back. Take these, and they're black. For some reason, they're CMYK. We're going to make them red. And I would make the whole thing, especially if you're going to cut this. I never know when somebody sends me a file if it's just kind of crossed over or if he was actually using CMYK on his file that he sent me. So just by accident, we added to our, pretty cool shapes. I'm not ashamed to admit it, just by accident. Control G to group it together and scale it down with your ratio lock. Most earrings are probably, I used to make a lot, 1.5 by 1.5. I think this is a good pattern. Does not look like they're going to cut, burn through. You never know. And then of course it's easily put a ring pattern on there. I actually like, let's take the whole thing and Control G to group it together and hit P, put it on the center of the page. And I actually like working with just the outline, so I'm going to ungroup it, and I'm going to move that out of the way 6 inches. I'm going to group this, Control G, and move it out of the way 6 inches, and then bring this back that 6 inches, because I want to draw in the center of the page when I put my little eyelet, for a couple of reasons. You need to figure out your size. I mean, it needs to be pretty substantial. Let's go 0.2. Hit P, put it in the center of the page, bring it up to the top of the page. Now this won't interfere with your drawing, but you've got to do this and just delete all that. Now you saw I went on the other side of the line, but what I should have done first, before I did that, I should have made a Control D and make a duplicate, holding down the Shift button and let it grow from the inside. It needs to be some substantial to work. Move that out of the way and get rid of my indexing line now, and then I can just cut right through the center. Now I would definitely, can't even find my hole. There it is, way over there. 6 inches, long way. That looks pretty good. It looks pretty stout. Use the Smart Fill tool. That is going to fill it in and make it perfect. Make it where all this is solid. And if you don't know what I mean by this, is we have 3 different parts here. Where here we just have 1 part. Now I accidentally moved it, so move it back. And then you can nudge this back to the 3 inches and nudge your part back 3 inches. And voila, you have a pretty neat design of an earring. I kind of like the roughness of the 6-sided polygon. And I really like these features right in here. I've made a lot of earrings out of plywood. You almost have to make them stronger. And then you can dye them. And just a word of warning, you need a spray. That looks really large on that young lady's face, I think. Spray them with some sort of sealant so the dye won't, if they get them wet, they won't leak on their face. But anyway, kind of a fun project. I hope that helped a little bit. Thank you for watching.